recently I've been hearing a lot of people say that Australia is a dangerous place. And while that is somewhat true, I think that it's unfair to give Australia that label. The only dangerous things you have to watch out for in Australia are snakes, spiders, dingoes, kangaroos, this bloke right here, sharks, jellyfish, dodgy kebab shops, organised crime, octopuses, this bloke right here, and tradies that are late to work. But the thing that most people don't understand is that the majority of the things I just listed are exclusive to either the outback or the ocean. But due to the fact that only 8% of our entire population live in the outback, and another 0% of our population live in the ocean, the chances of getting into a bus stop with a kangaroo, getting chased down by a crocodile, or getting eaten by a shark are extremely low. But while only 8% of our population live in the outback, roughly 90% of our population live in urban areas, and 72% of that 90 live in the major cities like Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide, Perth, Brisbane, Darwin, and Hobart. But with city life comes a whole lot of different challenges and dangers. So in today's video, I'll be going through some of the more relevant threats to your safety when visiting Australia, but more importantly, the big cities. So that's enough waffle, let's get into it. First up, we have public transport drivers. This is more relevant to tram and bus drivers, and if you've ever caught one of these two modes of transport, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. In Australia, public transport has two speeds, those being 1 billion kilometers an hour and 0 kilometers an hour. But as a wise man once said, speed doesn't kill, it's suddenly becoming stationary that gets you. So going 1 billion kilometers an hour in a train, tram or bus doesn't pose any safety risk. But as I just mentioned, these drivers only have two speeds, which means that they have the ability to instantly switch between the two. And that's where it gets dangerous. As soon as you step foot on a tram or bus in Australia, the driver starts to warm up the hyperdrive. And before you manage to find a seat or hold onto a handrail, you'll quickly find yourself flying through midair towards the back wall. And just as your body hits that back window, the driver will instantly switch back to 0 kilometers an hour and you'll go flying through the front windscreen. And these drivers don't discriminate. I've seen 6'5" bodybuilders fly from the front of the bus to the back row, and 100-year-old ladies almost teleport from the back of a tram to the driver window. This problem has become so bad that at one point they even ran these advertisements to remind commuters to hold on for dear life. But while we're on the topic of the dangers of the Australian public transport system, we'll get into our next topic. This is a native Australian creature. They don't pose much of a threat on their own, but just like wolves, hyenas, and ticket inspectors, they travel in packs. And those are Eshays. Now I've already gone into Eshays in my public transport video, and I also plan to make a separate video on them at a later date, so I'm just going to keep this one short and sharp. Eshays are young kids, usually aged between 12 and 16 years old, but depending on whether or not they're an enthusiast of the glass barbecue, they can be up to 25 years old. Eshays don't usually pose much of a threat, but what they can do is damage your ears. Due to the fact that most of the time they're either screaming, yelling, arguing, or blasting cursor on a Kmart speaker, too much exposure to that racket and music will either send you deaf or fry your brain. And if you're deaf, you won't be able to enjoy my videos. And that's just not good for business. So make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share. And if you're part of the 69% of people who watch my videos and aren't subscribed, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button if you want big muscles and lots of money, just like me and all my subscribers. Alright, let's get back on topic. The next thing you're going to want to watch out for when visiting Australia are Ford Ranger drivers. For many years now, the Ford Ranger has been causing absolute chaos on Australian roads. Often spotted doing light speed in the right lane during peak hour, the Ford Ranger is the closest thing we have to Bullet Bill in real life. Now everyone in Australia knows that this has been a problem for years, but last year when Ford released the new Ranger Raptor with a designated chip holder, TV in the dashboard and a twin-turbo V6, the amount of Ford Rangers doing light speed in the right lane during peak hour has more than doubled. The thing that makes these Ranger drivers so dangerous is the fact that they're always either on the phone or having road rage. And due to the fact that they're always distracted, if you get in their way while they're traveling at light speed, you'll be turned into a fine red mist. So unless you want to be pressure washed off the right lane of Dandenong Road, if you see a Ford Ranger, stand clear. As I'm making this video, it's currently the middle of September, and in Australia, that only means one thing, and that of course is the next topic in today's video, swooping season. During the months of August, September, and October, birds such as magpies lay eggs and have babies. Now on paper, that all sounds like fun and games, but I can assure you that's far from the truth. For these 3 or 4 months in Australia, if you walk anywhere near any tree, it's almost guaranteed that you'll be attacked from above by a magpie. And these magpies don't discriminate. They'll swoop humans, dogs, cars, statues, and most importantly, cyclists. The feud between magpies and cyclists is as old as time itself. This feud has gotten so out of hand that lives have even been lost. But luckily, I'm here to save the day once again. Ever see these cyclists with zip ties sticking out the top of their helmet? Now surprisingly, it's not for fashion, but this is actually the most effective technique at getting rid of magpies. So next time you bolt cutter someone's bike loose off a pole on the side of the road, make sure that you have a few zip ties handy to fend off any aerial attacks. Now this one is a major problem throughout all of Australia's major cities, and that is potholes. With the amount of money we pay each year in taxes and registration, you'd think that the government would have enough money to put aside so that they can head down to their local Bunnings, grab a few bags of quick set cement and a snag on the way out, and then put aside 10 minutes to fill that pothole and solve this problem once and for all. But as per usual, that'd just make too much sense. You see, the problem with potholes is that no one is safe. Some of the common victims of potholes include pedestrians, bike riders, electric scooter riders, cars, trucks, buses, animals, and pretty much anything that can move around on its own but can only do so on the ground. Potholes can cause a lot of damage, so always make sure to look down at the ground whenever you decide to go for a walk, ride, drive, or run, because you could very well become their next victim. Now to finish off this video, I'm going to give you a good old 2 for the price of 1, and that is a team effort from the ATO and the cost of living. Ever since petrol went over $2 a litre and someone decided that a half-empty bag of chips is worth $5, shoplifting, crime, and starvation has gone through the roof. After you donate a quarter of your weekly paycheck to the ATO and then the rest of it to bills and overpriced groceries, you're left with roughly $50 to either spend on petrol, entertainment, Yorak Hunt merchandise, link in description, or of course, most importantly, a quick trip to Uncle Dan's. But the thing is, because the Australian public only have enough money to pay for one of the things I just mentioned per week, which is usually a slab of Victor Bravos from Dan Murphy's that only lasts one night anyway, the Australian public are left with no other option but to commit theft, crime, fraud, and violence. So when you're sitting at home on a Friday night eating a $10 packet of noodles, just remember that that one day you work for free each week goes towards paying for things like this. And with that being said, it's time to end. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share if you'd like to hear more teachings from the prophet of Yorak Hunt. And if you enjoyed this video so much that you watched all the way till the end, comment holy guacamole to let me know. And as always, a shout out to everyone who made a donation to the charity of my bank account. And a special shout out to Gucci Slides for donating $80. I just spent it all on one packet of cheese and onion chips.